Hello again everyone, I'm Steve and welcome back to today's Retro Tech. I want to go through and just follow up on some old repair videos today, talk about some things that I was questioned about, and also show you a couple of other things. Now first off, let's look at the recent repair video I did on these 8041Q or the 8-inch style PVM monitors. I want you to notice I've got two hooked up here. And the only difference is one of them is an 8042Q, but I did a video on this monitor probably 3 or 4 months ago when I was trying to color calibrate it next to another monitor, and I'm going to put a tag for that video right up here in case you want to check it out. But in that video you can see the color problems that existed on this monitor. I did the same exact repair to this monitor that I did in that video to the 8041Q. And I'll put a tag to that video. That's the most recent repair video I did about 8-inch PVMs. I did that same repair on this other video monitor and it worked perfectly. So I just wanted to let you know that kind of proves the theory that there was not a very good solder used on some of these boards back when they were being produced back in the 90s, and it causes some of them to fail over time. There's a lot of heat and compact the compact design of these monitors can increase heat and other pressures on the components that normally wouldn't be there in a larger size PVM. So that's the repair. It was just reflowing some solder on some of the boards and then plugging it back up. You may notice on these the color is slightly different. There is a little bit of a blue gain adjustment that still needs to be made on the 8041Q on the right. You can kind of see the color difference a little bit better probably on film than you can in real life, but these are calibrated by hand and by potentiometers on the main board, so that'll have to be opened up and recalibrated. So that's the first thing I wanted to get into, was this repair. I also had an amazing question from a new viewer called Matcha Ice, and I wanted to go through his question right now, and he asked, how does storage affect CRT calibration or PVM calibration and other things? He had mentioned seeing people storing them in certain conditions and then not storing them in any condition, just leaving them out in, say, a barn or something to sit through the elements. What kind of impact does that have on it? So let's talk about some statistics first. And these statistics came straight from the PVM service manual. I've got them right here. First off, PVMs and most CRTs that are professional do have a recommended temperature for storage and transportation, and then a recommended temperature for operating or basically being in use. Now for operation temperature, and this comes from the manual again, it's 0 degrees Celsius up to 35 degrees Celsius, and that is converted into Fahrenheit, 32 degrees Fahrenheit to 95 degrees Fahrenheit. So practically the freezing point of temperature is the very bottom when you can safely operate a CRT and have no ill effects or potential damage happen to anything internally. And then you can go all the way up to 95 degrees Fahrenheit, which is almost 100 degrees, and safely use it. So don't go beyond that temperature if you're using them. Now storage is going to be a little bit different. It's got a higher tolerance than that because it's not in use. So storage temperatures are going to be between -10 degrees Celsius up to 40 degrees Celsius. That converted over to Fahrenheit is 14 degrees Fahrenheit up to 104 degrees Fahrenheit. So you have an even larger window there where if you're storing your PVM, say, in a storage unit or a non-temperature controlled area, be aware that it's safe for it to get down even below freezing into the teens before anything can happen to it. Now, there's also a humidity limit on a lot of these, or warning, where it can go up to 90% humidity on storage. You really want to try to avoid condensation of any type when you're either using or storing these PVMs or any CRT. And what I mean by that is if you're in an environment like I am in my shop, occasionally humidity will get really high and temperatures might change rapidly, and then you've got almost a mist in the air. It's not really safe to store or use the PVMs if I was in that environment. That's something to remember. And so what those temperatures can do, that temperature change and also the movement of just physically picking these up and moving them around places can affect your calibration. First off, the temperature changes can affect your components internally and cause them to possibly fail and need changing or just fall out of spec, especially if you're in a climate like mine where you get freezing and thawing and then hot temperatures throughout the summer. We have a full 4-month climate here in Tennessee, and we get a lot of temperature change. So that's something to think about, how that can affect it. That will also affect the movement, as well as the components can affect the magnetism inside the PVM shell, which is what is used to control your calibration. So if you sit something in a spot for a while and it slowly develops either a problem within itself as magnetism, or maybe since it's not been turned on in a long time, it hasn't had a chance to fully engage the magnetism within that was designed within the PVM originally, could have fallen out of spec a little bit. Because even though there is a lot internally, most of the stuff that affects a PVM screen will be internally. We can have outside factors in the environment like temperature change, as well as the physical magnetism of the earth can affect PVMs. There's even BVMs that have settings internally where you have to tell it which direction the BVM monitor is facing compared to magnetic north. So you can actually tell it so it tries to compensate for the North Pole's magnetism on Earth. So that was a really interesting question, but pretty much to sum it all up, it's just a fact of the movement as well as the temperature and climate change just really affects those components internally and kind of knocks off the balance of your magnetism. Sometimes the magnets inside can get weaker, or electrical flows can weaken, and again, things like solder, reflowing solder, and other tactics can be used to help repair a monitor. But for the most part, when you pull it out of storage, you might always have to get in there and just reset the calibration slightly. Thanks again for the question, Matcha Ice. And please let me know if you guys have any more questions. I'm going to do a Q&A session coming up soon, and because it's been about 2 months since I've done one. But I've got one last update for this video, and it's about the capacitor kits. I know I've had a lot of talk in other forums on Reddit and Facebook, and especially here on YouTube, about cap kits. I am working on this cap kits, and I'm still in the process of developing the actual install guide. The cap kits have all been listed and separated on our order sheets ready to go, but the install guide is what I'm finishing. And then I have this box, you might have noticed it on top of the VCR here. The reason it's here is because it came in the mail just today, and I wanted to show it because I don't know how many of you have been following the channel quite a bit, most of the subscribers, since before this past fall and winter. But in early December, I got a new computer to edit videos, and you might have noticed the video quality had gone up. Well, unfortunately, 10 weeks after use, the hard drive on this computer, which is this Dell laptop, crashed on me. It had a hardware issue, and so there's not really a big worry about the equipment. It might slow me down a little bit though, because it is under warranty, and that's why they sent me the box, and they'll fix the computer and I'll eventually have it back. However, I won't be able to use the editing software and editing suite until I get the computer back. So I'll have to go with the more primitive editing tools that I had before on my prior videos. So I wanted to give you guys all a heads up on that and let you know that's kind of what's going on right now. And unfortunately, I did have 3 full videos shot that I was finishing editing at the time the hard drive crashed. So I'm going to try to see before I send this off this weekend if I can recover any of those videos, because they weren't uploaded to Facebook. And also, that's the part about the calibration, or I mean the capacitor kits. I had my plans and my drawn up install guide on this computer too. So I need to get that off there and try to get all that situated. So it might be another week or 2 weeks possibly before I get those cap kits released. I'm sorry. They will be available though for any of the 1953 MD model, 1453, 1353, any 53 M's, any 54Q PVMs, any M series PVM will have a kit for those, and any Olympus OEV 203, 202 142, 143, those will all be included in these capacitor kits. So if you're looking for those, please just stand by. You may want to shoot me a message. You can leave a comment on this specific video if you want to be kept in line or basically on a list. The price is going to be $21 plus shipping for the kit with the instruction guides, and I will have a detailed video talking about these individual cap kits, what to expect, what you need to do to replace the cap safely, and then reinstalling your board and getting your monitor set up in tip-top shape. And that's going to be all the time for today. If you do have a question for the Q&A, please leave it on this video. That would be the easiest for me, and I will get to that as soon as possible. But thank you again for watching today, and please look for some more content to come soon. I'm Steve. Have a great day.